All right, guys, I'm out here working tonight on my stuff. And so obviously we told you we'd be putting the Holley blue pump on the olds. And so I'm wiring it in, and I want to show you guys. I know it looks like a mess, but everything is actually organized. My gauge panel goes out of the way, and then underneath you see my fuse panel and my relays, which might not seem like the most organized, but actually it's a lot more sane than you would think. I pulled my switch panel down, and I have my wires labeled. So this is my fused wire to the AFR gauge, and then I have the switch wire going to the relay, and then power out of the relay goes to the AFR. I am going to be wiring the rev limiter box in the car through my dead switch, which is actually the it was the ignition switch, but I don't trigger my ignition through here since this is still a street car. I do start it from the push button, but I don't trigger my ignition through anywhere. It's actually still keyed. So I'm going to be using the rev limiter on this switch, and then we're going to be setting up wires for the fuel pump. I stole a relay from, actually the entire wiring harness I had kind of made for the fans on the Bonneville are out. So I don't plan on going back to electric fans on that, and if I do, I'm going to have to try to do it a different way. So anyway, so yeah, I took the relays and the wires, and I reused a couple of wires since they were still good. And obviously I got my rev limiter wiring, so this is to the fuse panel, this is to the ignition box, and since we're running through the ignition, we're not going to go through any relays or anything like that, since we're kind of pretty much doing it, like the factory did. They didn't go through relays or anything like that, and in the instructions it doesn't say anything about that. Pretty much you just tap into your ignition wiring and you tap it all in line, and it's supposed to work. Well, hopefully this isolates the system a little bit better from underneath the hood, and it's in the car, and it's going to have its own power source, and then the only thing that we have to do is tap into the TAC, or not the TAC, the distributor for the TAC signal. So hopefully that works. It worked good up until we actually needed to use it. So hopefully this fixes it. It was working, and it was just cutting out like 5,000 where it did not need to. So I think it might have been a little RFI noise, and bringing it in the car might isolate it a little bit better. I got it screwed into the old fiberglass AC box that's on the inside, and I just got to pick a better ground for it and go from there. So anyway, as far as the fuel pump wiring goes, we're going to wire up the relay, which I don't know if I showed you guys, but I mean, it's fairly simple, straightforward. You usually have a trigger wire, a signal wire, a ground, and then to your device. So pretty much you have power that's constant hot to the relay, one to kick it on, a ground, and power going out. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just a safer way to turn stuff on, and I'm going to be doing that here. So I got the wires pretty much ran for my rev limiter. I'm going to start running my wires for the electric fuel pump, and this will be the first installment of the fuel pump. Obviously I'm just running some wires now. I don't have any AN fittings or braided hose lines or anything like that. So for now I'm kind of doing my pre-work here. I'm going to run my wires. I'm going to have everything ready to go when I put the fuel pump in, so that I just run my power wire to the fuel pump, I should say, because I did this motion out of camera. So it's going to go straight to the back, and it'll be ready to go. So that way I don't have to mess with this later. I'm going to do this now since I got time to kill. So anyways, I will see you guys later. Alright guys, well, we are back to fuck this car. So I mentioned to you guys I wired everything in onto the panel, and then I ran my wires down. because it's kind of hard. It looks like a clusterfuck in here, but all my wires are good. And the wires underneath that you see are either wires going to my gauges or wires going to the relay, and then whatever factory wiring is left in place. So it looks messy, but really it's more organized than you think. I can't stress that enough. So either way, you can see that I got fuel positive from fuse. So this is the positive coming from the fuse box, and then our brown wire is from fuel positive to relay. So that means it's coming out of the switch going to the relay, and then from the relay out. So and then you see these wires down here. Since I haven't wired up the rev limiter, the blue wire is to the rev limiter box, and the red wire is to the actual fuse panel. And why there's a butt connector there is because this was stolen for this female spade. So I'm probably going to redo that because this is too long anyway. And at this point, I'm just kind of doing my pre-rituals here. I kind of used up all of my female spade connectors, and I'm starting to realize that I need to go out and buy a box. So anyway, it's about as far as I'm probably going to get today, but I'll follow it up once I install and wire up the relay, and then we'll test it for power before we actually hook it up. And then we know that once we hook it up to there, we'll have power out. So we'll do that. And actually, I am going to finish wiring in the rev limiter since I got everything for that. So I will follow that up as well. See, the gauge panel makes it all better. So I ended up mounting my rev limiter box on here because I needed easier access to the switches, and it looks quite fashionable on the foul 8-track gauge panel. Switch panel is back on. Got everything marked out. The rev limiter is the red light, so that one's a no-brainer. I don't need to mark it. But I got my water pump, my fan, my AFR, and my fuel. I don't like running my AFR on all the time because even then, I already killed this O2 sensor, so if I don't need to run it, I won't. I don't really think that's an issue. But, yeah, this switch needs to get replaced. It's got a broken ear in the back, and yeah, we only got room for one more accessory. Slowly growing into it, I guess. So, rev limiter's on, and I guess this is it, guys. From here, I just need to wire up the relay, which I think I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to go buy one that's pre-pigtailed, just for ease of use, because that's what I used on the other ones that I got. You can't even see it now until I get way under there. So, I think I'm just going to buy a pre-pigtailed one, screw it in place, strip, run my wires, and call it done. So at the moment, the brown wire that's hanging on with the tag, that is from the panel to the relay, and then I have one wire from the fuse panel into the switch, and then one from the switch to the relay, and then from the relay out. So I keep repeating that, but actually for once I have it memorized. It took me a while to remember how to work with relays, and they're stupid simple. So, you know, back in my early days, I used to wire up stuff without relays, just fuses, inline fuses. It was really cobbled up together. And actually, the wiring on this car, my friend helped me with it, and it was my first attempt at, like, clean wiring. And as you guys saw, we cleaned up the wiring on the Bonneville quite a bit. It's even cleaner now that I got rid of all the wiring for the relays and stuff, and that's because, you know what, I should have bought the pre-packaged pigtailed relays. It's such a cleaner install than having to wire up and tape up and heat shrink and all that. It's nice, it's neat, it's just so much better. And that was the messy part about the wiring on the Bonneville when I did that setup, which I was never happy with it, but I've done a lot better of a job in the last 5 years about how to finesse wiring. And with the car currently, obviously, I'm working with what we did at that time, and it's certainly a lot better than what it was. But I think when the time comes to redo some stuff, I think I'm just going to buy a reproduction fuse panel and rewire it all. At work, on my friend and boss's car, he bought a brand new fuse panel for his Bel Air, and oh my God, is it nice? You know, we're starting from scratch because somebody has boogered up this wiring, and they're fairly inexpensive, and I think I'm just going to use a reproduction factory fuse panel, wire in my stuff, add terminals, and I think I'm going to, down the road, make a nice relay and fuse panel like you see on a lot of race cars they usually have on the floor with all their relays, their fuses. Everything is in one centralized, easy to get to area, and I think I'm going to do something like that here, but I have to mount it in a more practical area because it's still a street car, so I think I'm going to have to make use of the dead area in the back. Might end up with a little bit more wiring, but it's definitely a neater approach. Obviously, you got to run the proper gauge if you're going to run length and all that stuff, but neither here nor there. But just a small little project today. I had time to kill, and I figure I would be proactive. So I hope you guys like it. Share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass. We'll see you guys around.
Alright, this is literally a video how easy this thing starts. I haven't touched it since last time I started it, which was like a week ago. We know I went racing over the weekend. Ulysses raced over the weekend. But anyways, this is literally how easy it is.